Good afternoon, Facebook. Today is Saturday, April 18th, 2020, and it is 2:51 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. As we are now into the weekend, I'm not taking the same approach as I usually would to this podcast that I do. I'm taking a more abbreviated approach. I don't intend to be on for very long today. As of now, the United States is reporting 734,526 cases of COVID-19. The virus has claimed 38,768 lives. In my home state of Washington, while no longer among the top 10 worst affected states in terms of cases or fatalities, we are still facing a somber reality. 11,445 positive or confirmed cases, with 603 fatalities. The ongoing mitigation effort, both locally and federally, have indeed paid off. Many lives have been saved, and much pain has been averted. Many in the national news media have warned against easing restrictions, insisting that to do so would result in death. While this is undoubtedly a medical reality, there is another dimension to consider, one to which the president himself alluded in his April 16th press conference at the White House. Quote, "A prolonged lockdown combined with a forced economic depression would inflict an immense and wide-ranging toll on public health. This includes a sharp rise in drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide, heart disease, and many other dimensions of physical and mental well-being. Moreover, many patients have put needed medical care on hold, creating entirely new hazards for public health." Unquote. This lockdown is indeed having a direct impact on the happiness of millions of American citizens. Even as our federal government has taken impressively massive steps to ease the financial toll of the crisis, there's far more to it than money. And so how does a presidential administration or a federal government address such an esoteric concept? Well, on August 13th, 1963, President John F. Kennedy, in his Progress Report by the President on Physical Fitness, observed that the Greeks' definition of happiness was the exercise of vital powers along lines of excellence in a life affording them scope. Implicit in this definition is the responsibility of the individual person to push themselves. You must work to expand the limits of your potential, and as often as you are able to, you must strive to apply this potential towards finding the heaviest burden you are capable of bearing and willfully bearing it for as long as you can. It's been said that this is the only real way to find meaning in life. As we enter the second month of the national quarantine, the nation, and indeed the world, has the feeling of holding its breath. Over 22 million American citizens are now out of work, and many millions of us are living under mandatory stay-at-home orders. Nearly all opportunities to exert our abilities in life are now unavailable to us. And while there is now a solid plan in place to bring back life to some semblance of normalcy, there is, as yet, no definitive timeline for the implementation of these plans. To some, it seems as though we can physically feel ourselves and our society beginning to atrophy. We sit at home, monitoring our bank accounts, watching as unearned dollars stream into our coffers, all the while trying to find some way to feel good about it. This is not an emotionally tenable or psychologically sustainable way to exist. And no amount of government handouts can mitigate the human damage that this enforced state of suspended animation is exacting on our spirit. As human beings, we yearn for the burden and the responsibility that is our freedom. And across the country, we are beginning to see that yearning manifest itself. Protests and demonstrations have coalesced throughout the nation. some of which have received encouragement from the president, who views some of the measures being taken as being excessively restrictive. His detractors in the media have pounced on this as an opportunity to portray the president as an anti-science loose cannon, intentionally fomenting domestic rebellion. Washington State Governor Jay Inslee led the charge with a blistering public statement yesterday. Here is his statement in full. The president's statements this morning encourage illegal and dangerous acts. He is putting millions of people in danger of contracting COVID-19. His unhinged rantings and calls for people to liberate states could also lead to violence. We've seen it before. The president is fomenting domestic rebellion and spreading lies, even while his own administration says the virus is real and is deadly, and that we have a long way to go before restrictions can be lifted. Just yesterday, the president stood alongside White House officials and public health experts and said science would guide his plans for easing restrictions. The White House released a sensible plan laying out many of the guidelines that I agree are essential to follow as we work to resume economic activity. Trump slowly read his script and said the plan was based on hard, verifiable data and was done in consultation with scientists, experts, and medical professionals across government. Less than 24 hours later, the president is off the rails. He's not quoting scientists and doctors, but spewing dangerous anti-democratic rhetoric. We appreciate our continued communication with the Vice President, Dr. Birx, Admiral Palauchek, and others in the federal government, but their work is undermined by the president's irresponsible statements. I hope someday we can look at today's meltdown as something to be pitied rather than condemned. But we don't have that luxury today. There is too much at stake. The president's call to action today threatens to undermine his own goal of recovery by further delaying the ability of states to amend current interventions in a safe, evidence-based way. His words are likely to cause COVID-19 infections to spike in places where social distancing is working. And if infections are increasing in those places, that will further postpone the 14 days of decline that his own guidance says is necessary before modifying any interventions. I hope political leaders of all sorts will speak out firmly against the president's calls for rebellion. Americans need to work together to protect each other. It's the only way to slow the spread of this deadly virus and get us on the road to recovery. And again, that was a statement by Governor Jay Inslee, issued by his website just yesterday or today. But there can be no doubt that the president's opposition also continue to actively use this global crisis to advance their own political agendas. Democratic super PACs such as Unite the Country and Priorities USA, both very well funded by Silicon Valley donors, have released ads bashing the president's response to the virus and saddling him with the direct blame for the deaths of thousands of American citizens. Ignoring the fact that many left-leaning news outlets also initially downplayed the severity of the outbreak, these ads sought to portray the president as oblivious and hypocritical by referencing cherry-picked tweets and statements such as those cited in the House Oversight Committee's April 14th letter to the White House. But even at the highest levels of Democratic Party leadership, there have been glaring examples of the same type of defiant nonchalance for which the president is being excoriated. On February 24th, over a month after the first confirmed case was discovered in the United States and the illness was rapidly beginning to spread, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was urging crowds to congregate in San Francisco's Chinatown. Now, no one at the time in either political party had the foresight to properly react, and everyone was trying their hardest to fend off an uncontrolled national panic. These statements and these actions represent our reactions in real time to the crisis. They do not represent the retrospective analysis where this type of political opportunism finds its most fertile soil. Still, it remains a very real concern for many Americans that some factions within our leadership are overfond of their newfound powers, and that their zeal in asserting it has eclipsed its transitory nature. Slow to relinquish control, many prominent figures unabashedly lunge at any morsel of data that suggests extending our mitigation efforts until a vaccine is discovered and this threat permanently erased from the world, easily still more than a year away. While operating under the guise of promoting public health, there are undoubtedly far less altruistic motives animating much of the choreographed outrage at any attempt to bring an end to the lockdown. Such sentiments actively contravene our collective need to engage the world and tirelessly quarry the happiness to which the ancient Greeks referred. We must exercise our vital powers. We must seek lines of excellence, and we must be afforded in our lives scope if we are to heal both mentally and physically from this pandemic. This lockdown, even in any diminished form, cannot be the new normal, and any attempt to force it to be will inevitably result in revolt. Our very nature would demand it. Thank you for listening. Be good to each other.